Hello. Thanks so much for joining us on Tips for the Transition, the Career Roadmap, where we share information to transform your professional journey and impact your life. I'm Maria Tomas-Keegan. Each week, I chat with experts to introduce you to their areas of brilliance and share our collective resources to encourage women to become more confident, resilient, and brave in their career and life choices. We stream live weekly every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the E360 TV network, which you can find on your favorite streaming platforms like Roku and Apple TV and Amazon Fire. And we go live simultaneously on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, where you can interact with the show. And if you prefer to listen while you're on the go to your favorite shows, we're on all the podcast channels as well. So if something inspires you today and you want more, please subscribe to your favorite channel, leave us a comment, and share your favorite episodes so we can create more ripples in the world for women. So as I often do, let me start with a question. Have you ever thought about how your energy impacts your behavior and those around you? At work, at home, anywhere you are? It's an intriguing idea to explore. So I'm thrilled to bring you an energy authority, Rebecca Ahmed. She is an author, award-winning speaker, business consultant, and energy leadership master practitioner. Rebecca is an expert in transforming workplace cultures through the power of personal energy. Her book, The Energy of Success, here we go, delves into maximizing productivity and workplace motivation through positive behavioral changes. Today, we'll hear Rebecca's insights on what personal energy is, how it influences our behavior, and why it's crucial for workplace success. She'll share practical steps to break free from destructive energy levels, create positive energetic shifts, and build confidence. Rebecca will also introduce us to her 5 energetic success principles from her book. So stay with us till the end so you can learn how to harness your energy for greater success in your career and beyond. Because what we do with our energy is totally within our control. And I can't wait to get this conversation started. Welcome, Rebecca. Hold on one second. There we go. I think we got you. There we go. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here and love the introduction. You're getting everyone excited about that energy already.
Yeah, really. We got to have good energy to talk about energy, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's start by kind of leveling the playing field with an understanding of personal energy. Help us understand, what is it?
Yep. So personal energy is the amount of vigor or capacity you bring to a situation. And when you look at how scientists define energy, they define energy as the ability to do work. And so you have kinetic energy, which is working energy, or potential energy, which is stored energy. And we talk about this throughout using destructive and constructive or positive and negative, but it's how much vigor or capacity you bring to a situation.
Okay. All right. So it's our capacity to bring energy to a situation. All right. Got it. All right. So you talked about positive and negative. You call it in your book destructive.
Mhm.
So what's the key to breaking out of a destructive level of energy?
Yeah, the key is to understand your energy first. So when you know where you're at and you can honor that, then you get to make a choice. Where do you want to go? If you want to be sad and that destructive energy is where you want to sit, I'm the first person to tell you sit there, honor that, flow through that. But when you want to make a choice to leave that energetic zone and you're wanting something that's more fueling, something that's more constructive, that will get you towards your goals, then we can create shifts so you can start leveraging higher levels of energy.
Okay. It feels like we need to talk a little bit more about the our energy and how it can affect us and those around us. Can we
Yep.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we'll start with us, right? Because you want to understand your own energy first. And I like to compare we humans, us humans, to our phones. When your phone is plugged in and 100% charged, you can do anything. You can use its navigation system, you can play with apps, you can take pictures. It essentially operates at 100%. When we humans are charged, well rested, well fed, taking care of your health and your wellness, living in alignment with your values, you essentially are 100% efficient and operating at 100%. As soon as you unplug your phone from the wall, you'll start to use its battery. And different things will use more energy than others. You know that when you use navigation, you see your battery decline more. And as your battery continues to decline, what you'll notice is some apps won't work. There's not enough charge. Your light will start to dim on your phone. And then it even goes into conservation mode and it starts shutting off different things because it's trying to preserve the energy until you plug it back in. We're the same way. If we keep giving out our energy all day and we don't put our phone in, plug ourselves in, recharge, we start operating on that low bat. And that's where you start experiencing these emotional reactions to stress because you're not able to really process it. Just like your phone can't use some of its apps because there's not enough battery. And so when you think about yourself and how you need to recharge, I often say plug in like the phone. What do you need to do to increase your battery?
All right. I love that analogy. That is so it's so clear.
Perfect.
It is so it's so easy to understand because most of us have a phone, right?
Hmm.
And we don't want to lose anything off our phone. We don't want it to not be available to us, right? When we need it. So I mean, I do it every morning. I check my phone's battery. I plug it in while I'm getting ready for the day. And by the time I'm ready, it's fully charged.
Exactly. And you never look at your phone when it's charging and say, I'm so jealous you're recharging. You don't do that,
So, okay, so let's talk about that.
right?
So how can we think about our own internal batteries, right?
Mhm.
Our energy level. How can we think about that more like our phone? How can we how can we monitor our our battery level?
Yeah. That's that audit piece, right? When you evaluate how effective are you? And I like to do this, and sometimes I have my clients do an energetic journal. When they are fully energized, how efficient, how effective are they at accomplishing their goals? And how much are they trying to push through? And how many errors come up with that? How does that
Yeah.
impact them health and wellness wise with them themselves and around you? Because that emotional reaction I talk about, and you hinted to it, it impacts others around you. When
Sure.
someone is upset, you know what that's like to experience someone's negativity. They're on a short fuse, they're firing off every second, everything's frustrating them. It impacts those around you. So you notice that when you can make a room light up, but you can also really get a room down just with
Yeah.
that negative energy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can dim the lights of the people around you when your light is dim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, um let's talk more about how we and our energy impact those around us. I talk about this a lot with my clients. When we are well, everyone around us benefits.
Mhm.
And when we're not, um, everyone around us feels it, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So what can we do about that?
So, if you're the person who is spreading that energy, it's an opportunity to evaluate where you're at and the energetic impact, that ripple effect that you can create if you are in a destructive place. And there are tools, and I talk about quite a few tools in the book to be if you're the person being impacted by the energy. But if right now we're talking about the person giving out that energy, you can assess and say, should I be in public right now? Should I be at work right now? Or do I need to have time to recharge or process my thoughts and spend some time practicing presence so that I can have more control of what I'm sharing with other people so I'm not impacting them in a destructive way? Inclusive of just stating, I'm going through something. Please note if I have a short fuse, like let me know, or I'll notice this. And so please note that has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with me. Even setting that tone is an opportunity, just so other people are aware, oh, I don't need to wear that person's energy, or I don't need to skate around them. So that's just an opportunity of taking responsibility and ownership and communicating it.
Mm. That's such a good point. We just acknowledging and sharing that you're going through something right now. You're having a difficult time.
Yeah.
Apologies in advance. I'm going through a tough time right now. Please give me the grace. I need to give myself grace.
Yep.
Yeah. And then recognizing, what it is, right? Being aware, digging into it a little bit and figuring out, so what is it?
Yep.
So, we talk about this on this show a lot with lots of my guests, that whatever it is we're talking about, it starts with awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Being aware of, in this case, the kind of energy that we are bringing to the situation, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Are we bringing everybody up, or are we dimming everybody's light?
Yep. Because you can't choose where to go if you don't know where you're at.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
And then deciding how you want to respond to that. So let's talk about um, making energetic shifts. You talk about this in your book as well.
Mhm.
How can we tell we need an energetic shift? And then how can we create that shift for ourselves?
Mhm. So in the book, I go over this and I have an energy leadership assessment. And with that assessment, you learn the 7 levels of energy that I classify into zones, really just to help people understand where they're at, right? That audit of here I am and here's where I want to go. And so to start, I'll walk through kind of those 7 levels, so people have kind of an insight into that. And the book dives into them very deeply and provides examples so you can really understand what you're experiencing. That
Okay.
first level I call a safety zone because our brains are actually hardwired to keep us safe. And so they're assessing, so this is something new based on your biology, your biography, your beliefs. And this is where unconscious bias sits in that question of, should I cross the street? Is this safe to do that? And it's a beautiful thing. And that's the advantage. It's to keep you safe. The disadvantage is this is also where self-doubt comes in because your brain and your body are saying, stay safe. Don't do that. Don't take that risk. And this is where your inner critics sit. And so when you're experiencing this low level of energy, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are all connected. And the thought you will usually experience is, I can't do this. It's not safe enough. And your emotions will come from fear, anxiety, that feeling of lethargy. And that's what it causes. Your actions are usually non-action. They're usually, I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to do anything because I'm coming from a place of fear, or I won't take that job opportunity. I won't take that risk. And when you move from that, then we get into this combative zone. And this combative zone, level 2 energy, is what we're seeing mostly in the workforce primarily because we are just moving too fast and we have too much information coming at us at any moment. And that's that low bat. We're running on that conservation mode, trying to run uphill constantly. And you just can't do it forever. I always say this to my clients, like, yes, stress can be a beautiful thing if you need to power through for a certain amount of time. But how long can you run through quicksand? It's not sustainable. And so your thoughts and your emotions and actions come from that combative place when you're in this level 2 zone, because you're thinking, I have to fight for myself, and I'm frustrated and I'm tired and I just need to power through. And when you get out of these zones, when you start to see, okay, this is how I'm experiencing the world, you start taking this bridge. And that's that level 3 compromise zone. That's the zone of, oh, I'm starting to look at things with a silver lining. And what we see with this zone, it's a beautiful thing to get you out of the negativity and say, okay, how can I look at this a little differently? The challenge is that many people sit here, and we saw this in COVID. The word fine is a really good way to know if you're constantly sitting in level 3, because you're compromising. That pain gain switch is connected. So if you turn off the pain because you're sick of 1 and 2, but you also don't really leverage that gain, you can sit in fine for forever. I mean, there's so many people, right, who just are like, how's work? Fine. How's home? Fine. How are the kids? Fine. And so that's that opportunity to say, ooh, let's jump into a higher level of energy. I'll pause here and see if you have any questions on 1, 2, and 3 before continuing on.
I love this. I love this. You're explaining it so well, and I can see the progression
Okay,
here.
perfect.
I can't wait to hear the last 4. Keep
Okay,
going.
perfect. So level 4 energy is the service zone. And I see this a lot coming from hospitality, primarily throughout my history. I'm from Las Vegas and opened up many of those beautiful hotels and casinos. And when you're coming from a place of service, you naturally care about other people. And so your first question and your first inquiry is, how can I give? How can I help somebody solve a problem? How can I be that shoulder to cry on? The challenge with this energy, remember, all energy levels have advantages and disadvantages. And the disadvantage of this one is many people who prioritize those around them forget to prioritize themselves just as much. And that causes that hamster wheel of 4, give, to, oh, I'm exhausted, I can't give any more, 1. And then usually you flip to 3 and you're like, you got this. You got this. I hear that little hamster wheel all the time. Like, I helped everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. No, Becca, you got this. You can do it. And you do it all over again. And so the opportunity is to put in those little energetic breaks. I see your
I
hand.
love what you just said, because this is not a progression of zones that you're only going up from
Correct.
1 to 7. You can flip back and forth
Yep, you're
depending on the
constantly
circumstance.
interchanging.
Yes,
Constantly. And the
love that.
goal is
Okay.
that you're constantly interchanging more in that constructive zone, knowing that you always have some of that safety built in. And that's a great way to say, check, before I cross the street. Do I look both ways? I always assess risk. And if something is not in alignment with your values, vocalizing that. I'm upset with this. This is where that energy is coming from.
Yeah.
Or if something horrible happens, I always say, if a bear comes in the woods, you're not going to be like, let me look at this as an opportunity right now. Like, no, run.
Let me
So
take a picture.
you need to use that energy too.
Right. Okay. All right. Continue.
Okay. So with level 4 energy, as I said, that's the service zone. And the opportunity is to prioritize yourself just as much as you prioritize others, so you can continuously give and gain energy from it versus deplete your energy. Level 5 is the first energetic level that truly shaves off any type of destructive energy, in the sense that you have no bias. No, you're not looking at anything from right to wrong. You're looking at everything through the lens of opportunity and growth. And I call this the curious zone, because that's what you're doing. You're looking at every opportunity as an opportunity, inclusive of challenges, to say, where can I grow from this? What can I learn from this? How can I put something into place that's going to expand my mind or my knowledge? And so when you start leveraging curiosity, and we'll talk about this in the energetic success principles, what you'll start to do is you'll start really collaborating with those around you. It doesn't become about you, it becomes about this synergy, which spins you into level 6 energy. And millennials love this, right? We took down walls and offices because we love collaboration. We love to be able to have that synergy. And that puts you into flow. And Csikszentmihalyi wrote an entire book on flow, right? It's time flies by. What you and I are getting to do here, we're getting to collaborate. We're bouncing off of each other's energy. Time will fly by. I know it will, just because it always does when you're in that flow zone. And through that zone, you get these energetic hits, and that's that climax zone, because you can't live in that zone, but you can have these aha moments. These are the, oh my gosh, I figured out the challenge. I figured out the answer. Or we're all watching the Olympics, throughout this entire month. And so when you think about the Olympics, we're watching level 7 energy constantly. Each time somebody has that, they make that goal, or they run through the finish line, their energy is so high because it's so exciting. And you have almost an out of body experience. A lot of times athletes have that out of body experience. My brother, I share a little bit about him in the book too, because he's a kicker. And he says, it's almost as if I watch myself kick the ball, but I am kicking the ball. And so those are the different energetic zones. And as you picked up quite quickly, you go in and out of these consistently.
So what is the name for number 7?
I call it the climax zone.
Climax. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. Okay. Wow. All right. So maybe this is a bit of a crazy parallel, but it reminds me of how we go through the stages of grief, or how we go through anything honestly that is kind of a set of stages to progress from one place to the other.
Yeah. It's 100%.
It's never a direct line.
Correct.
And it's never intended to be that.
No.
How boring would that be? Okay, I'm in level 3 now. Next is level 4. So it's like,
jump around.
Yeah. So you set yourself an expectation, and here's the wonderful part about life. It's going to surprise you.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're back into the compromise zone. You're back into level 2, or back into level 3, giving. Yeah. I love this. I love the way you've described this, Rebecca, because it is so it's so clear. In my book, I talk about the stages of transition. Mm-hmm. So when we go through stages of transitions, like when we go through stages of grief, when we go through our stages of energy, mm-hmm. right? It's all very similar. And what's wonderful about it is that we can, with information that you've provided to us here in this show, as well as in your book, deeper in your book, you make it very clear for us mm-hmm. to know that we can recognize mm-hmm. where we're at. Yeah, we have the language to describe it.
Yes.
And that's what you've done for us. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad it's so clear, because that's the first step, right? Is recognizing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So there's something else in your book that I was very intrigued by. You talk about different types of employees. Mm-hmm. And I think that many in our audience will see themselves in some of these. Mm-hmm. So would you tell us what some of them are?
Yeah, I tried to be very diverse, and I interviewed people from all types of industries. I think we even have an archaeologist in there. So all the way to interviewing Brian Scary and learning about how he builds energy with orca whales all over the world. So I talk about the hospitality worker. I talk about doctors, seeing as my father's a doctor. I talk about athletes, seeing as one of my brothers is an athlete. I'm the oldest of 11, so I am gifted with lots of different careers around me to be able to bring that through. But the goal being that no matter what job you're in, there are synergies between you and another person, whether it's sales in one industry versus another, or a service oriented job at the hospital versus a hotel. And so I like to highlight that with all of these stories and all of these examples, every person can find themselves in there to say, "Ah, that applies. This is what I'm going through," or "this is my industry," or "oh, this is how they navigated that challenge." And that's the exciting part about it, because you want to be able to take those tools. And a lot of times, depending on what type of learner you are, I'm a kinesthetic learner. So I like to put myself in those shoes. And that was the goal of the book, by providing so many examples from various industries.
And you also talk about, you kind of label different types of employees. So you talk about the exemplary leader
Oh, yes.
and the disruptive annoyance
hmm
and the quiet quitter. Those are three examples that come to mind.
hmm
That so talk about those for a minute.
Yeah. I open the book sharing this from a place of vulnerability. I've been all three. I have, if you were to run what is that? Not a background check, but reference check on me. Depending on where I've worked, they would say I'm absolutely fabulous and I'm an exemplary leader, or she was a disruptive annoyance. She constantly was questioning the status quo because I was in a role that didn't align with my values of creativity. And so that's on me as I've continued this career journey, is to ensure that I lead with my values so that I can provide the most energy for my job, because it brings me energy. If you had me as a food and beverage server at Cabo Cantina back in the day, like, I apologize to you. I was a horrible server. Like, absolutely. And so it's so important to know, wherever you are at in your career, and whatever job you're at, if it's not bringing you energy, you're probably not an exemplary employee. And why? And that's not the fault of an employer. This is the fault of yourself to say, ooh, what an opportunity for me to say, what are my values? What brings me energy? And how do I ensure that I find a role that is speaking to that, so I can provide my best self? And then I'm also getting energy from that role. What we're seeing in the workplace primarily is misalignment. And if we realigned our energies with what gives us energy, people would be so much happier in their roles. And that's a huge opportunity to create an energetic shift at work.
Oh boy, you really just hit the nail on the proverbial head, in that most most people who are struggling with the work they are doing are misaligned.
Mhm.
Something's out of alignment
Correct.
with who you are, what you love to do, the values you live by, as they compare to the environment in which you work.
hmm
And noticing that, and noticing how it uh, impacts the way you show up. So, do you love it? Your three examples. Do you love it? You're an exemplary leader, because there's a great alignment between who you are, what you stand for, and the role you're in, and the culture you work within.
hmm
Or are you that disruptive annoyance going, I don't think this is right.
Yeah.
What do you think you're doing? Why are you doing this? Questioning, questioning, questioning. And not feeling seen, heard, appreciated, respected, because your acting, your energy is annoying,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the quiet quitter, right?
Yes. And
When
the
you
quiet
are,
quitter is interesting, right?
yeah, when you are just, you're hunkering down, you're retreating, you're doing nothing, you're not doing anything more than is absolutely necessary, biding your time.
Yep. And that can be very constructive and very destructive, depending on how long you're doing this.
And what your end game is,
and what your end game is, correct.
right?
I
Right.
share
So
that quiet quitting can be a beautiful thing, especially those who I work with so many Gen Zs, right? And so they're in school or they're in a graduate program, but they're also working a job to support themselves. And they are giving 100% at work, nothing more, to get through school, to get to their end game. And they're exemplary employees in the sense that they're not expelling too much energy. They know it's a stop in the way in the journey. And their employer also knows that. It's transparent. We're supportive in your education. We're supportive where you're wanting to go, understanding that's their value. But here at work, we need you to be able to do A, B, C, D, E, and you do it. But if you're quiet quitting through life and you have no idea where you're going, that's very different because it's not
yeah.
transparent and you're not looking for another goal. And you'll probably quickly go into negative energy because you're frustrated because you don't know where you're going.
And that takes you down a spiral and everyone around you with you.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I'm glad we talked about those because I am certain there are going to be people listening who are going to resonate with one or another and know now that there's something you can do about that.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning, this energy thing, it's totally in our control. Nobody else has control over it unless we release our power to control it and let somebody else do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's get to those 5 energetic success principles.
Yes.
Take us through those, would you?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Let's start by diving into the principle of detachment. This principle is a bit nuanced. So we'll start with the basic one of you're experiencing someone else's negative energy. Someone comes in, let's say you are a hotel front desk checking someone in. They might have had a crazy day of travel. They're frustrated. They're exhausted. Usually people, when they're coming in like that, they're angry and they're snappy. And so you experience their destructive energy. The principle of detachment is an opportunity to say, let me empathize with them, especially those who lead with the service zone or lead with level 4 energy. They naturally care about the person coming out with them. They have those who lead with service really have a talent in empathizing with people and seeing the world through their lens. Empathize with them, but then release. You don't need to wear their energy as if it's your coat. You didn't travel 16 hours. You didn't experience travel delays. You didn't experience all the things that they experienced. So don't take that energy on as if it's your own, because usually when people do take it on as their own, then they get angry and they start spewing it to others. And so we're all wearing each other's clothes, and that doesn't make sense. So I say empathize and release. The principle of detachment gives you that opportunity to say, I hear you. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Let me see how I can create shifts for you and get you checked in and get you on your way. But then I'm going to go to the next customer with the same exciting energy that I approached you at. Any questions about that one so far, Maria?
No, I love this.
Okay, great.
Empathize and release. That's the key here. Don't take it on.
Yeah.
So
Don't wear someone else's coat.
those of us who are empaths in this world have a tendency to just take on everybody else's stuff and wear it, like you said, wear it as your own. And that's the worst thing you can do as an empath, and finding that boundary. So that detachment, I love that you call it that principle of detachment, that you can separate yourself.
Yep,
Love that.
absolutely.
Okay, next.
Okay, great. So next within this one, the principle of detachment is also we create our limiting beliefs. So the definition of limiting beliefs are we take a fact and we create a story. And we've attached to the story, not the fact. And this becomes the biggest aha I usually have with my clients, because what we do is we break down those facts. What occurred? And trauma, very much this occurs from trauma. This occurred, let's say you got into a car accident as a child and you remember that and you say, throughout my life, I am fearful of getting in a car. I can't be in a car. Well, the fact is you had this one accident, but you're living the story. And so I see detach from those stories. What stories are you bringing to life and pulling through in your present and future that were just one occurrence, one fact? And how can you detach from that? You are not a victim. You are not whatever story you've created that's holding you back from excelling. That's an opportunity to move forward. And then the last piece about the principle of detachment is we attach to our own expectations. This is really for people when you're leading, whether it's you're leading your family, you're leading a team, you're leading a project. Just because you have a way of getting there from point A to point B, when you're working with others, if you are attached to what you want to do, that might not be how they get to that journey. So detach from that, detach from your own ego in the sense of I'm employing or I'm giving this person an opportunity to do this role. Let's see how they get there. Or if you have a child and you say, oh, just because you wanted to be potentially a certain role in your life and you attach your child to doing that, detach from that. Let them find their own journey. Let them find their own answers. And so that's why I see this one's nuanced, because we have so many opportunities to detach from our own limiting beliefs, our own assumptions, and let someone else find that and let them grow. Any questions about that one?
Love that.
Okay.
No, you're so right about that. There are so many things that we harbor or we hold on to that we think are expectations of ours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't pan out the way we thought they would.
Yeah.
It's because we're harboring the expectation. So I love that you said separate fact from the story,
Mm-hmm.
and we often latch onto the story
Oh,
and
yeah.
don't take it back to, so what actually happened? What's
What
the
actually
fact?
happened? And it's just
Yeah,
one thing. It could be something
yeah.
horrific that you
And then
wish never happened.
we and stories are, it's like you tell one person the story and they tell somebody else, and the story embellishes every single time. We
Every
do
single
that to
time.
ourselves as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there are four more of these. We have another 10 or so minutes,
I'll
so
jump right
we
in.
may not be able to go as deeply into the rest of them, but I want to make sure we cover them all.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we'll talk about cultivating curiosity, since I said I love that level 5, that curious zone, because it creates the opportunity that you can look at everything through a lens of growth, seeking to learn and grow and getting curious. And so when you're dealt with a challenge or you experience a challenge, when you leverage curiosity, you're looking at that challenge as an opportunity. And it becomes really playful and fun to cultivate curiosity to say, why didn't this work? What would work differently? And we're seeing this with Gen Z quite a bit because they're questioning everything, questions that we've never even questioned ourselves throughout our journey. And so it's a beautiful way to say, because of what we did before, does that mean we need to do it now? And this is where we're seeing a lot of shifts in the office and how we work. What worked in the past, or what occurred in the past, I should say, we saw the numbers, we saw that it's not energetically constructive. How can we approach this differently? And not to say that every answer will be right, but each answer that you find by cultivating curiosity, it will get you further along the process. And you'll find blind spots just by doing that exercise. So
Love it.
after cultivating curiosity, perfect. Another one's practicing presence. Presence. We are so moving a million miles a minute, multitasking, trying to do too many things at once. The power of the pause and the power of practicing presence allows you to really get clarity on what's important and what you want to focus on. We've seen this. I'm going to bring up the Olympics again because it's just so fun. We're seeing this with so many athletes that they're meditating and practicing present with themselves before they go and compete. They take these are energetic breaks, these are recharges. That is that phone being plugged in. Plug yourself in and take time to be with your own thoughts, be with your own energy. Go for a walk. Just take a moment. And that's when you are able to have a thoughtful response versus an emotional reaction to a lot of things coming at you. Let's see, practicing presence. I talked about cultivating curiosity, the principle of detachment, leading with love. When you lead with love, or care, depending on your corporate culture, if that's your corporate culture, you're caring about the person you're impacting. You're caring about the people you're working with. And it's not about ego. It's not about haphazardly putting something together. It's coming through a lens of care to ensure that it resonates with those around you. And when you care about someone, then you care about how it's going to impact their thoughts and emotions. And many times we jump to, let's just go through the process without the care piece. And then you wonder why it doesn't resonate. That's your opportunity to say, there we go. And then the last one, but not least, inspire possibility. We are our biggest no's, and we do this all the time. And I know because you're a coach too. All the time you'll hear from people, I can't do that. That's not possible for me. What if you inspire or create a possibility? What if you're the possibility of change? What if you're the possibility of transitioning? You can create possibilities and step into these possibilities. And I like to use the word yet, even just to get people started. I can't make $1 million yet. I can't be the most successful attorney yet. But now we can place steps to get there because you've inspired a possibility that before you didn't think could even exist. So those are the 5 energetic success principles to really help people shift into higher zones.
So once again, what I love about these is how beautifully intertwined they are.
Mm-hmm.
And one feeds another. So inspiring possibility is fed by cultivating curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is also fed by the principle of detachment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because possibility is only possible when you've released, detached from all of the things that limit you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I love this. This is I just got goosies. This is this is just a beautiful um, sharing of, very common sense kinds of things that you have made very clear and understandable. And I can see, and I'm sure our audience can see, the way these things beautifully mesh, play off each other, and allow us to play with our own energy levels,
Mm-hmm.
and break out of destructive energy levels, because you've given us some tools,
Mm-hmm.
and create energetic shifts because you've given us some tools and some information that allows us to think about it differently.
And I love how you said play. I have an attorney client who used to be a dancer when she was younger. And every time she does a shift, because she'll catch herself getting frustrated and she does like a little twinkle toe, like dance. And then she'll be like, okay, where do I want to go? So I love that because it is playful. It can be
Yeah,
so fun to play in these energy levels and it makes
yeah.
life so much more better. I promise.
It does. It just, when we take control over situations, like so many of my clients are feeling, they're feeling very uncertain about the environment they're in, right? Whether it's it's the environments are colliding, right? It's their work environment is uncertain, and the world environment is uncertain, and the country environment is uncertain, and maybe their relationships are uncertain, and they're just all kind of colliding, and it causes us to retreat and do nothing,
Yep. That's that level
and
one.
it creates this atmosphere of destructive energy.
Mhm.
And what we need to understand is that we have the power
Yeah.
to break out of that for ourselves and see it in a very, very different light. Again, it reminds me of my very favorite mantra: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah.
And it's just another example of looking at it differently, so that, and Rebecca has given us in her beautiful book, the success, energetic success principles, and the zones. I love the zones,
Yep.
to help us just take charge. I like to say, take the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Take the wheel in your own life and career, and make some shifts for yourself.
This is why I share, energy is a currency. And if you had all of the energy in the world, you could accomplish anything. So when
True.
you think about that and you have the control, like you just shared, and I'm giving you tools to get that control, and that's what everyone wants. They want to be in control of their own life.
Right.
You can fill up your bank account. You can fill up your energy and start accomplishing what you want. And it's as simple as that shift. And even in my
Yeah.
speeches, I give people different colored glasses and have them actually switch with the audience with each other to say, this is how this lens is serving you. If it's not, take it off, put on another one. That's the beauty of it. And it, like you
Yeah.
said, it's just so playful and fun. So I love that
Yeah.
quote too. Connects perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when we have the tools, when we know that it's within our power, when we care about others, I love that's one of your principles. Uh, then magic happens, and we can change things for ourselves, starting with ourselves, because that's the only thing we really have control over,
Yep.
right? So if we start here, then everything else starts to shift around us,
Mhm.
because other people respond to how we're showing up differently.
Yep.
Yeah. Love this. I could talk with you. I say this to so many of my guests, and it sounds trite, but I could talk to you for hours. I would love to dig even deeper. I know that there's more that we could go through, and maybe that means there's another show in our
Love
in
it.
our future. Um, but I'd love for you to wrap this up in a bow for our listeners. What are your top three takeaways?
The top three takeaways I would say is, do the work, learn the energy. So whether it's going through the energy of success throughout my book to learn those zones, or to take an energy leadership assessment to understand your own energy. But by understanding where you're at, that's step one, because then you can do step two, which is choosing where you want to go. And I think that reminder of that lens, even if it's the act of just putting on a different pair of lens today, if you're in a destructive zone, take that away, because now you can change your lens. You can change how you're experiencing the world. And it's not who you are, it's what you're experiencing. And so that would be just a huge takeaway for those who are listening, who are going through something a little bit more challenging right now, just to have practice presence today and say, there is another way. I might not know what that way is yet, but honoring that, because then you can start making shifts. And that might be a call to a coach. That might be picking up the book. That might be, starting to do some research. But you'll start getting into action just by honoring where you're at.
Love that. Yeah. Honor where you're at. Understand where you're at. Choose where you want to go, or start to explore what
Mhm.
that get curious,
Cultivate curiosity.
right? Start to explore what that might look like for you, and then um, and then believe that there is a way.
Mhm.
There is a way to get there.
There always
Yeah.
is.
Love that. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And you're so right. The time flew by for me too.
Right? And when you're in flow, it's every time. I love it.
Mm. Every time, every time. All right. So I know that people are going to want to reach out for you. Tell us, what's the one best way for them to do that?
Yes, definitely check me out. My website is www.energeticimpact.com, and I have all my contact information on there and would love to connect.
I would love for them to do that as well. And all of the links to get to Rebecca are in the show notes.
Great.
Rebecca, thanks again.
No, thank you so much. This was a great time.
Good. I'm glad. And for those of you who are watching and listening, I appreciate that you're a part of this community always. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment, click a star. Let us know what you think. Because creating and sharing resources for women is one of my very favorite things to do. And that's what each one of these shows is, a resource for someone out there. Another one of my favorite things is to uh, be a coach, career and life coach for women navigating challenging times and helping them get unstuck, explore new possibilities, and find harmony in their careers and lives. So, again, if something in this episode resonates with you and you'd like a fresh perspective, reach out. Let's talk. The links for Rebecca and I are in the show notes below, and you can get in touch with us, either one of us or both of us, that way. And let's meet again here next Thursday, like every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, for another inspiring conversation. Because you know what? I believe it's our time to thrive. So let's thrive together. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan. Till next time, helping you turn transition into triumph.